Hey everybody, it's Dr. Sara Gottfried of saragottfriedmd.com, and I'm here with Michael Schrantz today. Hello. And I wanted to talk about the mold that shows up in the kitchen.
Oh no.
Not behind the dishwasher, but actually on your onions, or I found some on the zucchini in my crisper in my fridge.
Burn your house down.
So let's talk about this because, this is kind of the mold that a lot of people see on a daily basis. Sure. And you just made an important point offline that if you see mold on your onion, don't be cutting that off. If you're one of those 24%, I'm one of those 24%, I've got the mold susceptibility genes, which means I can be taken down by exposure to mold. You don't just whack it off.
I use, with customers I work with, I use humor. It's a serious subject. Not necessarily the mold on the cheese, but the subject, the concern that your patients have.
Yes,
they're living a different
serious
lifestyle.
Yes.
Afraid to wake up and go into a shopping mart because they may have a hit or an exposure. But let's go to the kitchen real quick. If you got mold on your cheese or your onions, and you're one of those 24%ers especially, I'm not a qualified physician. I can't look at that cheese and look you in the face and go, do the Miami Vice thing where we taste it and say it's okay. We're going to err on the side of caution.
Miami Vice.
Well, Miami Vice, when they did the series, back in the day when they found drugs, they'd take their finger and taste it, which wasn't reality. So what I'm trying to say is, in reality, it's just easier to get rid of it. You're not throwing away a roof that you have to repair for 20 grand. It's a piece of cheese. And if you have to ask the question of whether or not this mold can affect you on your vegetable or what, get rid of it. And in that way, that concern goes away because you're going to start splitting atoms with people like me where it's like, well, how do we know the rest of the area is not contaminated, the rest of that onion, the rest of that cheese? Just get rid of it. It's easier.
Just get rid of it. So I think that's an important message. Now, before we finish, I want to talk about the 24%.
Yeah.
So in addition to this 24% of the U.S. population having a problem with mold, having the mold susceptibility genes, which you have to test by checking your blood, they also have a problem with collagen. So can we talk about that for a minute? They're more bendy. They've got longer arms.
So I was at a recent conference up in Phoenix, Arizona, and Richie Shoemaker, who's kind of the forefront of a lot of this education and research done for people in those 24% categories, had mentioned, what was that word that you used? Collagen? The ability to be flexible.
Yes,
to be really flexible. And that's another marker that the doctors will look for as an indicator that you have a mold susceptibility. Believe it or not, being able to be uber flexible and be able to, I think it's like if you can touch your hands one over, one under.
Oh, like this?
Which, oh my gosh, I can. And jokes aside, that is actually a legit indicator.
Here, I'm going to show.
It's not, there you go. It's not folklore. There is science behind what that is really telling the doctors, and it has to do with your immune system, has to do with the way your body reacts to exposures. So.
Does that mean I get more wrinkly? Do we have any information on that?
That may just be more of a genetic thing with you have a picture of your mother or your father or anything like that?
She looks pretty good.
Well then, yeah, you should be good. That's a scientific diagnosis.
So the bottom line is that if you see mold on your food, throw it out. You might be part of that 24% like I am, and it's just not worth the risk. So if you want to learn more about mold, go to saragottfriedmd.com. I've got this series of blogs that I've just published on what mold is, how you get exposed, and most importantly, what to do about it. saragottfriedmd.com.